Hello, math students, and welcome back to Module 11. This is geometry. This is lesson 5, and it's called Identical Triangles. The goal for our lesson today is we are going to learn about triangle correspondence to determine if triangles are identical. The question that I want you to think about during this lesson is, how do you determine triangle correspondence? Things to know. So there's some vocabulary words that we need to talk about in order to have an understanding of triangle correspondence, and they are vertices. Vertices is the plural word for vertex. A vertex is a point where two lines connect. So if we had this line segment here, and we had this line segment here, this would be called a vertex. This would also be called a vertex, and this would be called a vertex. So all three of those are vertexes, and the plural form of this is vertices. So each one of those is a vertex, or plural is vertices. An angle is the measure of degrees made by lines connecting at a point. So all of these right here are considered angles because it's the measure of degrees that it took to combine those two lines to create a vertices. So the measure of degrees made by lines connecting at a point. The sides is a line segment used to create a part of the shape. So this is a side, this is a side, and this is a side. And then we need to have knowledge of important vocabulary words. The important vocabulary words or symbols are this little angle mark right here. If you can see it, I'm pointing to it. We did talk about it earlier, but right here, this is an angle mark. So when you're talking about an angle in geometry, you always put that mark in front of the letters that stand for the angle. So this means angle ABC. This other symbol that is very important is called a segment. Okay, and when you have a straight line with a bar across the top of two letters, you're talking about segment AB. And then if you'll notice the difference between segment AB and line CD, let me zoom in. Line CD has arrows on both ends. Segments has 2 points on each end. Line continues forever in both directions, so it has arrows on both ends. So that's the difference between a line CD and a segment AB. Segment means that it's an endpoint and it stops. It's not infinite in size. It has a very prescribed size that starts here and stops there, whereas a line is infinite because it goes on forever in both directions. So that's how you would use the symbols to tell the difference between those. And then basically what correspondence does is it shows which part of the triangle matches the other triangle in the exact same location. So correspondence is where you talk about the angles that they share in common, the segments that they share in common, or the lines that they share in common. So correspondence means that you're talking about the exact same part of the triangle, and that's how you know that it corresponds. So, for example, if I was to draw this triangle right here, okay, and we know that there's a triangle, and here's the vertex for each one, and we're going to say this is triangle A, B, C, and then I draw another triangle over here, like this, and here's the vertex, here's the vertex, here's the vertex, and this one is called GHI, okay, then we would say that segment AB, so that's going from this vertex to this vertex, segment AB corresponds with segment GH. So they correspond because they're matching the same sides. Okay, so AB corresponds with GH. All right, so that's the corresponding sides. We're going to say that angle BAC corresponds with angle HGI. And so those would be the angles that correspond. They're the same. They measure the same amount. They are the same size. So they correspond because they are the same angle measures. Just like the sides are the same because they're the same length. Okay? And so once you have identified what they correspond or what they share, that's how you identify if the triangles have correspondence or not. Is you're looking for parts of the triangle that are the same. So we would say segment AC corresponds to segment GI. And then one more, let's take a look at it really quickly. We could say that segment BC corresponds with segment HI. Okay? And so correspondence basically means what part of the triangle is the same as the same part on another triangle. So triangle ABC corresponds to triangle GHI because they have parts that are exactly the same. They share the same angle, BAC, HGI. They share segment AB to GH, segment AC to GI, and segment BC to HI. And so that's the correspondence. Correspondence shows you which part of the triangle matches the other triangle in the exact same location. So AB, GH, AC, GI, BC, HI, angle HGI, and angle BAC. So that's how you determine triangle correspondence. So let's go back to our goal for today. Our goal for today is, today we are going to learn about triangle correspondence to determine if triangles are identical. And then the question was, how do you determine triangle correspondence? And the way that we determine triangle correspondence is we see if they have matching parts of the triangle that make up the triangle. All right? So hopefully that was very clear to you and you're feeling comfortable with this. And that's all I have for you today. All right? I'll talk to you soon.